season premiere, season 7 already of this podcast. Obviously, episode 1. We've fortunately been your hosts the entire time. We haven't bought out yet. We've had offers, but they were low balls. We're not doing that. Dante Bullhauer, Jamie Bullhauer, both creatives in our own regard. If you're just joining us for this one of the first episodes you've seen, I'm a photographer, video, kind of digital media, whatever. He's a writer, poetry, novels, all sorts of things in that respect. So happy to have you here, and let's get right into our premiere of season 7. Okay, so today we are talking about, we're kind of retouching kind of some of our early topics. We talked about in our very first episode what the definition of creativity was. So today we're going to talk about our definition of the creative process. But first we're going to kind of give some updates just on, the creative life as we have experienced it lately. So what are your updates?
Yeah, you seem a little tired.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm very tired. And I just slept, so it's not helping.
No, and coming off supposedly, it's one of those vacations, which you ended up creating a personal video, and did some creative stuff, but you, as sometimes happens, you don't get a restful vacation. Well,
I felt pretty rested the weeks before it. The week before it was a lot. The week after it has been a lot. And because of the whole thing home, it didn't leave a bad taste in my mouth about the vacation, but it just was stress that I didn't need before the actual job stress. But I didn't, when we saw zillions of dolphins on the dolphin watch, I didn't take the camera out until it was too late. I did at the Sand Dollar Island, but then we weren't seeing any. We were on a dolphin watch in Florida, and we weren't seeing any dolphins, like, the entire time. And I was like, okay, I just had my camera all packed up, all this stuff, and my zippers had broke, so it was more of a hassle to get stuff out. So I was like, I'm just not doing it. And then a couple dolphins come by. I'm like, oh, cool. So I took some, phone video. And then right at the, last 10 minutes, just, hundreds of dolphins. And I'm like, by the time I got my camera and stuff out, they were gone. I'm like, cool. So I did take a break from the camera for a little bit. It was unintentional, but, it's busy season for me. Very busy season. Last August, I had 25 total new projects on top of the existing ones. It's August 11th, and this will be 24 today. So it's and I have 3 tomorrow. It's been a lot.
Yeah.
So just kind of hammering down busy season. Trying new ideas. It's heavy seniors. Trying new ideas with seniors. Starting to get into hype videos and trying new things with that. Like, for example, for the AC volleyball video, I wanted to use a deck of cards. And so I brought out cards. I'm hold the ace up to their face. So just implement some different things that, especially for clients that I've maybe had over the years, so they're not kind of getting numb to the video. Yep. And the last clip's are really cool. It's of me springing the cards because they couldn't. You can't tell it's me.
So, but even one of your senior photo shoots, you got new water skiing. I was like, that's, I
was a little nervous for that one. I didn't know how it would come together.
So whose idea was that? Theirs?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the only thing. They almost moved to Florida because that girl was so big into water sports stuff.
Yeah.
And I just got a text from that guy, and he's like, I know you can do this. Question is, when are you available?
Yeah. Well, and see that, I think that showcasing of different things that you do, like your senior photos, yes, there is the classic, turn and, and stuff, but you have shown and have done things with seniors that of their interest. I was saying,
versatility I feel I can provide. Most photographers I feel wouldn't really it's just kind of something they'd be a little more weary about. And it was something I've never done before, so I wasn't weary, but I was a little all right, let's make sure we can I didn't know how the flag would blow in the wind we'd be able to get it. So I told him can you get a PVC pipe, all this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, being able the idea of almost never saying no to at least new things has proven to kind of make me more marketable.
Yeah.
Because people know that I will at least be open to any idea, and if it doesn't turn out, it doesn't turn out, but I will be open to trying and executing a new idea and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
cool. No, I was in. So on my side, well, school's about to start, so all of a sudden time. Got one more, I think only one more author event for this calendar year. This one is in Papillion in September. This one's going to be big, though. This runs from like 10 till 4 o'clock. The one for Chapters book was all afternoon. So, getting kind of ready for that.
is that kind of like where you're all like, for lack of a better term, like in the farmer's market style where people walk around?
So yes, we have to take care of our own transactions and stuff. We have to be ready for that. So I got to like decide on, okay, how many books should I bring? What was cool at Chapters when I did that for them is that they had an open mic part, and that actually led to at least one of my book sales because I read some of and I got one of the early slots too. I made sure I signed up, and so this time there's not going to be that, or at least not as that I know of yet. And poetry to a degree, when performed, I think is a little bit more powerful for some people than just on the page. Unless you're really into poetry, well then on the page it's cool. But if you're just a person and you hear a poem, then you're like, oh, So that is my biggest update. Besides doing, some of the app formerly known as Twitter community things, got kind of some short stories still waiting on. I think I already mentioned, had one accepted, got one declined, but still got a couple submissions out there waiting to hear back.
So how would you feel about how do you feel about the summer as a whole in comparison to other summers? You've gone to more workshops, at least I think, than past summers. Like you've been to 3, 4.
Well, and so I've done a couple of different
creative ventures. So how would you, I guess, describe this summer as it relates to maybe the other summers creatively?
In that regard, it's been good. But as every creative hits, I think I wasted a little too much time, though, for some of my ideas. For a little while there, I sprinted really hard. Like I produced, I think, 3 new short stories, poems. I mean, I'm writing, and then, with travel basketball with your sister, it just,
yep.
It takes up your weekend. Hey. And also, like, I know it's crazy. It's tiring sitting there just watching game. And one tournament, she played like,
yeah, she played like 2 grades.
Two grades, and so like I missed some opportunities. I'm hoping that I'll do better with time management when school starts and get some more things done. Yeah. Which kind of led to the idea of the creative process.
Yeah. You have to have time to be creative.
You do have to have time. So an idea is that for the next, after this, and we do record in front of a live audience.
We do.
Hi, Mocha. Is centralizing the episodes on the parts of the creative process to talk about the positive, negatives, how to make each part more beneficial, optimize. But I was kind of interested as I was thinking about photography and stuff. It's like, what graphic or what image or how do you see the creative process? How would you describe it?
So I would say, hopefully this answers the question. I would say most of the creativity part, the parts where I feel creative, is just simply the mental part of it. Not necessarily taking the photos, not necessarily editing the video.
Yeah, but isn't that part of the process though?
Right.
That's what I'm,
So I would say that is probably most of the creative process is just mental, because obviously we've talked about the technical sides of things that you have to know to be able to write poems and to be able to create graphics, whatever. But really, that's just the execution. It's like a scouting plan. All you really, if you really truly prepare as best you can for the game, all you have to go out there and do, and there's more variables with a basketball game, but is execute it. And so I talk about this. I've had a couple workshops recently. The absolute most critical part of the creative process first is the storyboard, or the kind of emotion reflection. Like doing that.
So in your workshop, so how did you visualize for them what is the whole thing? Because I agree. I think we'll talk about that. But the whole process, like how would you describe? Because the technical part is also part of, like, you know what I'm saying? So for me, I didn't mean for it to, because I was thinking like, oh my gosh, it's such a cliche. I think the creative process, the whole thing is actually kind of like a plot line. I was thinking maybe it's a circle, you know what I'm saying? But then I was like, no, because like if you think of one poem in my case, or one project, or one thing, you don't actually come, but and we talked about what you should do, with the older. So I kind of do see it as a plot line, and each part is unique for whatever you're doing. But I personally think there are 4 parts to the creative process.
Okay, well, if we're using analogies, I'm going to call it a smoothie. That's what I'm going to call it.
Okay.
I like the plot line. The plot line is probably the best example, but you can make a smoothie.
Okay, are you going to carry that throughout all the next episodes of this mini series?
I don't know,
because I will continue with the plot line. You better hold up.
We can't just hoard the plot line. If we both like the plot line, why can't we both use the plot line?
No, but it's a good symbol. The smoothie.
Like, so there's ingredients that are necessary to the smoothie. Ice. And there's ingredients
more than ice.
Okay, but that you need ice in every smoothie.
Oh man, it's like you're in English class.
Fruit. You can make a veggie smoothie for those weird people. You can make, like, I guess it's a shake, but chocolate, like ice cream smoothies. And they create different results, but at the end of the day, it's still a smoothie. Or shake. Or milkshake.
Okay.
We'll see how it plays.
We'll see how it plays out.
I'll have by the trade deadline, we might change it, but that's what I'm going to stick with for the moment.
Okay. So this video is meant to introduce, so we're going to have 4, the 4 next episodes will break down each part.
Okay.
Kind of the pluses, minuses.
The same parts? Same 4?
Well, see, that's going to be interesting.
I think I have 4. Okay, you say what your first part is.
So when I think of the plot line, and all right, but in my regard, I kind of see and you have a different medium, a painter, but I'm all like, there is the muse, the moment, the idea, the spark, the story, whatever that you get hit with. And there's some stuff there. Then what I would deem, and this is a little bit English teacher, is actually the pre-work, or the rough draft, or the gathering the ingredients. If we go with the smoothie type of, then there is the finished product, like the final thing that you present out to the world, and then there's the crash, which I was talking to you about a little bit earlier, meaning the downtime. And I do, and as we were going to talk about that, but then my brain got going even more, because I think there's some parts there of paying attention, and you were just coming off of trying to take a vacation, the importance of understanding that you're at the drop down part, the part to where it's now out there, but you got to recoup. You might, it gets a little complicated, but I think there's some hurdles there as I was thinking about this that people may not totally pay attention to, because you kind of come down off an emotional high.
After you finish like a really good project, you're like, I just want to go back and rewatch it. I don't want to make another project.
Yeah.
Like,
and part of this is coming from, I just wrote on the app formerly known as Twitter, I wrote a poem that I really liked. And I was actually debating, it was for the Battle Friday prompt, but because I was like, because of the rules of literary magazines and stuff, like anything that's on social media, even a personal blog, is like published. So you can't do that. I'm like, oh man, I would really like to test, and I was trying to decide what to do, but I decided to go ahead and send, use it for what it was intended to a degree. But I kind of crashed after that. And I was kind of sad. I was kind of like, and it just kind of reminded me that, man, when you do hit, and in your case, I was thinking of you especially, you get sometimes physical because of your work load that comes into play. And I understand the physical crash too. Happens after every football season or stuff like that. Your stress level finally releases and you go, and I think people kind of forget that there's some things you can do there also to help and, stuff like that. So that's the 4 ideas I had that went with the plot line. Muse, rough draft work, finished work, and then the crash.
Okay, yeah. Kind of go on the same story. So mine would be kind of similar, but slightly different. So like I touched on the storyboarding, which is kind of the muse. That's where you like dial in the emotion, dial in the plot or the whatever you're trying to achieve, whatever story you're trying to tell through that project. That's the ice. Okay. This is gonna be weird. I already know it.
All right, we could go with the smoothie in later videos, but it's still.
I like the smoothie.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe I'll have a smoothie for the last one. A bubbler smoothie.
Bubbler smoothie. Oh.
So the storyboarding. That's. I talk in my workshops. You tell a story to the consumer, no matter if it was intentional or not. And you can judge the quality of your work based on how clearly you told the story you were trying to tell. So that would be kind of my first one. The second one is similar to yours. It's kind of the asset gathering, whether that's, making an animation or getting textures or whatever for a graphic, or the pre-work stuff that goes into it, getting the photos, whatever. Then the third part is the actual, execution and actually telling the story. And then, the fourth part, just kind of the reflection, release, come down part of the project. So,
yeah.
I mean,
okay, it's
basically,
kind of
not apples and oranges, but green apples and red apples, maybe. Okay. We'll kind of break those down. I think it's interesting to see how much time you put into each individual one based on each individual product.
And that's
your Twitter stuff. Some of it is I don't know if your VSS is you just sit there for 5 minutes and write it, or you spend a lot of time on it.
Yeah, some of that I'll do. Yeah, the very short stories. It kind of depends, but
that's a much more expedited creative process than your books or your hardcore. I'm gonna sit down and write this poem to submit it.
Yeah, because then I gotta decide on poetic form. There's I think each project has aspects to it that are unique or you spend more time with. But I kind of think when you think over the whole, every project has some parts to it, or those 4 parts. And if you're paying attention and you understand, the hurdles that are involved, because actually in some ways, as I was thinking about the crash, that's actually really one of the most vulnerable moments for a creative, Because you're really, when you get to hit the music, you're just like, yeah, let's, and then all of a sudden you release it, and then, okay, so we're getting ahead of ourselves. But that's what I thought for the next 4 episodes then. We'll break down and unpack those to help people out so that you're aware, and make sure each segment comes out as best as it can for you also, no matter what kind of project that you're.
Yeah, because everybody... Again, kind of whether you think so or not, you are relaying some type of emotion, story, whatever, to the audience. Whether it's a strong emotion or a weak emotion, if it's a confused, jobbled kind of story, or if it's very clear and concise, it happens. And when you don't fully understand even like just what section of that process you're in, it really kind of muddles things up and can kind of create that feeling where you kind of hit that writer's block.
Yeah, and you might just never get done.
Yeah.
The idea of trying to be perfect, or there's a lot. There's actually, I was thinking about it, there's a lot for each segment that can be unpacked and discussed, and we got some hard examples for different stuff for that.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be a cool series for this season.
Yeah. So we'll unpack the good, the bad, the meat of all those sections here in the coming episodes. Stay tuned for those. They come out every 2 weeks, so we'll be into September. Well, we'll be way more October or something by the time we get done with it.
Yep.
So it's plenty of time for you guys to kind of study that and maybe create your own analogy. I might stick with the smoothie one. That by the end of this, it'll be. I will use that in my talks. Creativity is a smoothie.
Yep.
Put it on a t-shirt. But with that kind of wraps up our start of season 7 for The Creative Moment. Again, stick around for these next 4. We'll touch on those 4 different sections of the creative process, the do's and don'ts, the goods, the bads, and all of that under that umbrella. So as always, thank you guys for watching. YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you want to find us, you can find us. And we will see you guys in a couple weeks.